the dramatic events of December 7th. And since then, I've been very much preoccupied with trying to put my government into place, both at the national, regional, and then at the district level. Finally, last week, 3 months later, because of the processes in our country, I think more or less the formal government side is complete. And I felt that that being the case, and I had the space, the opportunity, to go and introduce myself, first of all, to our brothers and sisters in the West African community of ECOWAS, let them know there's a new leader in Ghana, and then use the occasion to strengthen the bilateral relations that we have with the various member states of the ECOWAS community. And very importantly for me, use the occasion to reiterate the commitment of our country and myself to the ECOWAS project. I think it's extremely important that we make a good fist of making the regional community ECOWAS work for all of us. There are 350 million of us in the ECOWAS community as I speak. And in 10, 15 years' time, that figure is going to be 500 million people. That's a huge market. And if we conduct ourselves properly and intelligently, it should be the basis of our future prosperity. And I thought it was important that I should come and reiterate these commitments. Ties of friendship, of neighborliness, of friendship, solidarity, and common enterprise with the leaders and the peoples of these various countries. I'm going to be visiting virtually all the countries of ECOWAS, except for Mali and Gambia, which I visited briefly. We're trying to stimulate the economy. We're concentrating also on making sure that our educational and health systems begin to work again. But equally important, that we begin to bring down the cost of food in Ghana. We pay too much money for ordinary foods in our country. We do. We live here. You know the price of food here. You compare it to Ghana. We're paying too much money for it. It's because our agriculture is not working. So 2 weeks ago, I went to Brong-Ahafo to launch a scheme which we call Planting for Food and Jobs. It's a nationwide program, initially involving 200,000 farmers, and by the end, God willing, of my 4 years, will have involved 2.5 million farmers. The farming population of Ghana is something like 5 million, and systematically every year will increase the exposure. What are we doing? We're providing them with subsidized fertilizer, we're providing them with improved seedlings, and we're also providing them with a group of people who have not been in the system for a long time, extension officers. Can you imagine? For the last 5 years, not a single person who has come from the colleges of agriculture have found employment in the public sector. So we have over 3,000 young men trained to help our farmers sitting at home twiddling their thumbs. It does not help us. This year, we are employing 1,200 of them to help in the program for Planting for Food and Jobs. Next year, we intend to get another 2,000, and we then will have a system of being able to absorb those who come from the colleges so that they can provide our farmers with that basic assistance in terms of skills and what to do to improve their productivity and their output. These are some of the key measures that we're taking. There's been a lot of controversy in the country about our electricity corporation and the idea that we were selling them off. We've decided to go to a different tack. So this famous compact, you've been hearing about it, ECG concession. The government has decided, I've decided that we can have a concession only if we have majority Ghanaian ownership of the concession, and that also workers are not going to be laid off as a result of the concession coming into being. So these are the measures that are being taken. There are many, many, many others, and they are the key ones that are going to be laid out very soon. One district, one factory. But above all, the language I am speaking at home is that we should begin to say, let us help ourselves. Let us help ourselves. We are capable of building Ghana with our own resources, with our own skills, with our own strength. Let's get away from this business of people always having to give us aid and this and this and that. To me, it's very important. It's important for our self-respect and our dignity as Ghanaians and as Africans, that whatever we are going to do, other people have done it in their parts of the world. Nothing stops us from being able to do so if we say to ourselves, yes, we can, and we can do it for ourselves. So I'm going to give the opportunities to my colleagues all to say a few words, but I'm really, really happy I've had an opportunity to come and meet with you. We have to, all of us, continue to engage in our country. Ghana is going to be on its feet, and we're going to go places. I please you. Thank you. And may God bless you all. Thank
you. We have a very ambitious program to transform our industrial landscape in Ghana. I think if you look at the structure of our economy, agriculture is declining, manufacturing is declining, services is rather increasing and contributes the most significant part of our economic GDP. But then before we can deliver jobs in our country, we must go back and make sure that our agriculture is working, and then our industries are also working. And that's what the President was referring to when he talked about his program to improve agricultural productivity and production. Now, on the side of increasing industrial development, a number of initiatives that we are embarking on. The first is the One District, One Factory initiative. Now, you all know that most of our industries are concentrated in Tema, Accra, in Kumasi, just a few dotted around the capital cities. We want to change that, and we want to decentralize industrial development throughout the entire country. And so when we talk about One District, One Factory, it means that by the end of the first term of President Akufo-Addo's government, the 216 districts, each of them would have 1 medium to large-scale industrial enterprise established, together with the private sector. Now, just to clarify that these are not state enterprises. The government is going to support the private sector to be able to invest in the type of industrial activity that will add value to the natural resources of each district. Now, beyond that, in each region, the government is also going to establish one industrial park, or what we call a special economic zone. All the things that we hear about China and Asia is about creating the conditions for investors to be able to have access to land and dedicated supply of energy. And so in each of our 10 regions, the government is going to again work with the private sector to create an industrial park that will provide access to land and reliable sources of energy for people to invest in. In addition to that, we know that there are existing companies that have been facing challenges in their operations. And so government has also introduced a stimulus package that is going to provide technical and financial resources to all those companies that have gone through all these challenges over the years. So you can imagine that there's a stimulus package for companies, existing companies. There's the one district, one factory initiative in the 216 districts. And then we have also the industrial parks that are coming up. And last but not the least, we also have a number of what we call strategic anchor industries that we are going to also promote. The petrochemical industry, the iron and steel industry, the integrated bauxite and aluminum industry. We are going to start a vehicle and automotive manufacturing assembly in Ghana. We are going to start producing industrial salt, which will lead to the chemical industry. We are going to promote the pharmaceutical industry in Ghana. So we just want to give you the hope and confidence that government is committed to support the private sector to be able to undertake various forms of industrial activities, which is the key to job creation. So we need the commitment not just of the private sector, but the people of Ghana, including those of you who are outside Ghana and also have an interest in promoting businesses in Ghana.
It has come to our attention that most of you, in coming here, you don't use passports. You use some form of ID. So we are going to engage the Ministry of Education and the universities to ensure that you are taken through the passport application process and issued with passports before you come here, so that your crossing will be made a lot easier than it is now. And to all of us here, may I say that so far you've been worthy ambassadors of Ghana. Yes, you have carried yourself very well in Togo. We don't hear of many issues to do with you living here, but you are engaged in some negative acts. But please, one of the reasons why we have an embassy here is so that if you have any issues, you can go there and let them help you, one way or the other. So, fellow compatriots, please make use of the Ghana embassy here. Ghana is surrounded by French countries, and so we must really encourage our citizens to learn the French language. And we've heard over the years about policies that will be put in place to actively drive this. However, on the ground, we realize that the situation is pretty much the same. Our children in schools have to compete with French-speaking colleagues and fellow students who are very fluent in English language, but our children, and in fact our working force, seems to be handicapped because we cannot really express ourselves in the French language as well. So our question is, given your own appreciation for French, la langue de Molière, we want to ask you, Mr. President, if you can kindly share with us what innovative measures are being put in place to actively drive this agenda. Thank you very much.
As you can see, there are many Ghanaians here who are very appreciative of what you have done, and a lot of them would have also liked to have the chance to go home and vote, but may not necessarily have been able to due to work commitments. Are there any plans in place to ensure that Ghanaians living in Togo and elsewhere are able to vote during election times? Thank you.
I'm fortified in taking this decision because as far back as 10 years ago, when I led Ghana into La Francophonie, I did so in Bucharest. The decision was that the Francophonie organization would help us with the teachers of French in the schools. Because at the end of the day, everything you do about education always comes back to the teachers. We now settled down, we have these 3 months. Matthew Poku Prempeh, the Minister for Education, has it as a major priority on his agenda. So I think that between now and hopefully the next academic year, some positive development is going to come out of it. Because to me, it is absolutely essential that we do so that we empower our own population with the capacity to survive in this ECOWAS environment. People speak English, but we don't speak French. What is that? No, it's not good. And I think that we have to go about it that way. I believe that the previous Minister of Education, I think, wasn't particularly interested in that project. But I am interested in it, and my Minister of Education is interested in it, and we're going to try and work it out to see how it comes about. A law has been passed. It was passed as far as back as Kufuor's time, as President Kufuor's time, making it possible for Ghanaians, as it were, overseas, outside Ghana, to be able to cast their vote. But as you know, the arrangements for elections are in the hands of the Electoral Commission. They're not in the hands of the government. The Electoral Commission is an independent body, which is the one that has the constitutional mandate to organize the elections. So far, the Electoral Commission has said that it is not in a position to organize elections beyond the shores of Ghana. I don't know to what extent this matter there has been an engagement by previous governments, but there is going to be an engagement by this government. We passed the law, and I can't understand why up to now, 10 years later, it is still dormant on the statute books. So these are discussions that we have to have. We cannot dictate to the Electoral Commission what to do, but we can definitely examine with the Electoral Commission what the conditions are that would enable the Electoral Commission to organize elections, to have Ghanaians in the diaspora also vote. There are many countries in the world, including this country, Togo, yes, smaller number of people, but nevertheless, there are many countries around in West Africa and around the world that do allow their citizens overseas to vote. I cannot understand why constantly in Ghana we do not allow that to happen. But as I say, this is the constitutional situation. The Electoral Commission, the last time they spoke on this matter in Afarijan's time, they said they are not in a position to organize it. We're going to have to sit down with them and find out what the constraints are and to see to what extent they can be persuaded to change their mind. Merci beaucoup.